Ooh, yeah, it's the Pajama Pants player. The best in the world. It's yours truly. It's John Grande here with you live in living color on this Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. The 20th. I think it's the 20th, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, so I was, just chilling around, and I don't know what it is. Lately, I've just been watching so much fucking horror, man. Like, I've taken the biggest load off of wrestling. Like, I'm so out of wrestling right now. Like, the product is really bad. I couldn't care less about the Royal Rumble this Sunday. I know it sounds depressing. I'm hoping if somebody like crazy wins, somebody comes out of left field and wins that match, like Bray Wyatt, Kevin Owens, they do something like that, throw a curveball at us, I'll probably be back into the product. I'll probably back into the swing of things. But until that happens, which I highly doubt it happening, but cross everything you got, ladies and gentlemen, I figured I'd be reviewing my number 12 choice, number 1, 2 of my all-time favorite horror movie list. And it is the only film from the 1990s. Yeah, that was a bad decade in the year of horror, but in the years of horror, I should say. But it is Wes Craven's Scream. Yes, Wes Craven's Scream. Again, the only film from the 1990s on my list, the top 20 horror list. And like I was saying, it was a miserable decade for horror. I mean, the year before this, actually, 1995 is a really bad year in horror. 93 is a really bad year in horror. Almost, reverse-wise, wrestling is the same, when you talk about bad and good years. I feel like this year wrestling was terrible. This year, 2015 in horror, well, I guess now it's 2016, but 2015 in horror was terrible. So, you had one good movie, and you had maybe 1 or 2 good pay-per-views. So, those things don't add up. Well, I guess they do in this case, but Scream came out in 1996, same year I was born, so I guess it's just as old as me, I guess. Actually came out in December of 96, which is, it's probably close to being just as old as I am. I don't know the exact release date. If somebody knows, let me know, because I'd actually really, it's like maybe it came out on my birthday, and I'm just as old as this movie, so I guess it holds that place in my heart. But, this movie, I think it's genius, and I think it's Wes Craven. Maybe not Wes Craven at his best, but Wes Craven, he's the only horror director that moved the genre along, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I said this in The Last House on the Left review. He moved horror along in the 70s. The Last House on the Left was this rape revenge flick that changed the game. I mean, so many copycats followed it. And then, of course, he came out with a film in the 80s that changed everything as well. I won't get into that one. That will be later on my list. I promise it's on the list. I won't ruin it or anything like that, but I'm sure you all know what it is. And you just don't know where it is. But Scream, I've Scream at number 12 because this is the film that moved horror along in the 90s. This is the film that brought horror, resurrected horror back from the dead, I think after, 1985, from, 86 to 89, we still had some good horror titles, but horror was getting silly. Horror was getting kind of like 80s metal hair bands. They were still good. There were still all these, there were still Metallica. There were still these good bands. But come the 90s, they just died a death, and horror needed its ECW. Horror needed its Nirvana to come along, and Scream was that Nirvana. Scream was that ECW. Yes, I like it more than ECW and Nirvana, because I don't really like Nirvana, and ECW is hit and miss with me. I know a lot of people, are skeptical about that, but this is, of those 3, it was easily my favorite. I love Scream to death, and I know it's the cool thing nowadays to shit on the movie and say it's overrated and it wouldn't have been that good, and because we get all these horror movies now with people from the CW11 on them. I don't even know if it's called the fucking CW11. I think it's Pix11, but to me it'll always be the CW11. I don't know, it's just the way I grew up. But, you had the actors on the cover. You got, Drew Barrymore, Skeet Ulrich, these actors that really don't do much anymore. And I guess, in that argument, you'd probably be right. But I'm talking about that time, that place, and this is lightning in a bottle. I think Scream is everything a good horror movie should be, because it plays with the typical horror movie rules. So I'll get into the plot if you haven't seen this. If you haven't, I'd say go see it, because this is one I actually probably will spoil, because this is a little bit more famous of a horror movie. Like a movie like Opera, I don't want to ruin for you. I don't know how many people have seen Opera. Of course, if you're hardcore, you've seen it. If you're not, go see it. This movie, I think if you're hardcore or not, I think any moviegoer has pretty much seen this. But it tells the story of Neve Campbell. Sidney Prescott is the character's name, and basically her mother had died years ago, and you know she's living that high school life, and her friend Rose McGowan, who's super hot in this, I've just got to say that, Rose McGowan, I fucking love you, keep doing your thing. And you know she's on and off, Neve Campbell's on and off with Skeet Ulrich's character. And, you know, she says to him at one point, she's like, we have a PG-13 relationship. He's like, what the hell does that mean? She says, we can't fuck, but... And she opens his shirt for him. He's like, all right, I'm down, you know? Like, there's some nice little comedy hints in there, and I really, really do like it. And this was, of course, written by Kevin Williamson, who now has lost his stock in everything horror movie-wise. I mean, the guy, other than this and maybe the second Scream, I don't like anything the guy's ever really done. But I guess to each his own with that. But, you know... the movie actually opens in Alfred Hitchcock kind of way and Psycho kind of way. And when I say that, I mean it opens up with Drew Barrymore and she's making popcorn. She's waiting for her boyfriend to come over, and she gets a phone call, and it's, you know, hello, what's your favorite scary movie? And that ominous voice, that scary voice that, you know, really resonated at the time. And he's asking her horror movie trivia. He's like, if you get the next question right, I might let you live. I might let you die. You know, you never know. And it's just this awesome, like, he's asking her all these horror movie trivia. Who was the killer in Friday the 13th? He's like, if you get this wrong, I'm going to gut your boyfriend like a fish. And she's just like, you know, her performance is great because her facial terror and all this stuff is really telling a story. And I really, really enjoy the opening of this movie more than a lot of horror movies, even on this list. I think it's one of the better openings in horror history. And, you know, she just sells the fear and the terror, and, like, it almost feels like it can happen to you, and I think that's the realism of it. And I think it always really, it hits people, it hits home with people. And, you know, she basically dies, and Scream, and you know, throughout their high school, Neve Campbell's high school, there's all, you know, all her buddies, and, you know, her buddy fucking, what's his name? His name's not on the back here. Randy's the character. The name of the guy is escaping me at the moment. But, you know, he's kind of the friend Randy is kind of the horror expert of the group, and he's seen all the slasher movies. He's like the hardcore horror guy, and he's like, these are the rules to survive a slasher movie, and he's telling them left and right. And, you know, Rose McGowan's boyfriend's Matthew Lillard, who went on to be Shaggy, and, you know, David Arquette plays the cop of the movie, and he's like, you know, he's running around town trying to figure this out, and Courtney Cox is in it, actually, and they actually got married on this set. They actually met and fell in love and all this shit, and they actually ended up getting married by the time the second film rolled around, I think. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I don't want to miss anything, you know, and they're just basically, one by one, Neve Campbell and all her friends are getting killed off, and these people are getting killed in the town, and, you know, they're trying to figure out who's doing it, why they're doing it, and you get these creepy phone calls. But I think that the subtleties in this movie are really, really good because, you know, you have somebody calling Neve Campbell and, well, why don't you like horror movies? And she says, because they're all the same. You have some big-breasted blonde running up the stairs when she should be running out the front door. It's insulting. Like, it's just like, I love shit like that. It's so self-aware. It's so, you know, that's what horror movies are. They're almost being a parody, but at the same time, they're being a really good, innovative horror movie. And at that, I just think Wes Craven was a genius, you know, and people say, oh, well, Kevin Williamson wrote it and stuff like that. And yes, I understand that. But you're talking about a guy that moved horror along in 3 different decades. I mean, I don't, you know, I think Wes Craven had something to do with that. And I think most would agree. But I don't know, I just really, really love this movie. I really, really enjoy it. It kind of leads up to this big party at the end of the film, and, you know, there's left and right people getting killed. They actually have Halloween, the original John Carpenter's Halloween, playing on TV, and they're watching it, and then he describes the rules of a slasher movie, and never say you'll be right back, because you won't come back. And he's like, and then Matthew Lillard goes, yeah, I'm going in for a beer. You want one? He goes, yeah, sure. He goes, I'll be right back. And then everyone's like, oh, shit. Like, it's just so fucking enjoyable. Like, I really, really enjoy this. I feel like this is a movie that they had a lot of fun filming. They had a lot of fun on the set of this. And it really does show. You can tell that they were having a good time making this movie. And it really is a good time to watch. I don't understand the people that bash it now. Like, to me, it's always been a good film. Like, I don't understand why it's cool to hate on it now. Like, oh, it's self-aware. That's stupid. Like, and by the time 1995 rolled around in horror, I was just asking for anything, even though I know I wasn't alive. But Jesus Christ, man, it just, all that shit was horrible. From like 1993 to 95, I literally could not name a really good horror movie title. I'm sure some asshole will comment, this or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, it just was a dead time of the genre. Bam, this was the jolt it needed to the heart, got everything kicking again, and I think Scream is an all-time classic. Not just because of that, I think it actually is a really good film, too. I really, really enjoy Wes Craven's Scream, one of my absolute favorite horror films. In fact, it's number 12 on the all-time list, so yeah, definitely check out Scream. I actually didn't end up ruining a lot of it for you. You know, there's these crazy twists at the end, who the killer is, and you know, I always just think it was just such a well-made film. Like, I just think it's a really, really good horror movie, and you know, of course, it spawned all these kind of copycats, but I don't mind it. I like copycats for the one fact that at least horror movies are coming fucking out in a theater. You know, as bad as I Know What You Did Last Summer is, and the sequel, and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, as bad as those fucking movies are, at least it's horror movies in the theater. Well, I guess maybe not the last one, but at least it's horror movie. It's something to do. It's somewhere to go. Something to talk about. You know, when horror's not going on at all, that means it's dead. When there's 6 films coming out a year that are horror-wise, theatrically, that means it's dead. I mean, even if one of the 6 of them are good, it's just not, it's not flowing. And if I have to, you know, no offense to any foreign movies or anything like that, or any low-budget movies, but if I have to go out of my way and watch it on VOD and order it from fucking China or fucking Italy and get the region free just to watch this fucking movie, it shouldn't be that hard to watch a horror movie that is not, you know, it just shouldn't be that hard to find a movie. If it's so good, why was it not released in a movie theater? If it's so good, why does it not have a region-free release? If it's so good, you know what I mean? And there are those exceptions. There are movies like that that are good, and I'm not saying that they aren't, but it's just one of those things that it's just, we need that next big thing to move us along in horror. This is not just a review of Scream, I guess. It's a little bit of a rant of horror movies of late, because I feel like since 2013, we've kind of been dead. Yes, there's been The Babadook. Thought it was drawn out and overplayed. I would love to make a video ranting about that movie because I would think it was vastly overrated. Thought It Follows was great. So, you know, it's just sad because that was the only good horror movie I saw last year, in my opinion. The only horror movie that I think was cream of the crop kind of good. And, you know, The Conjuring, I guess the year before, was 2013, so I really liked that one. But again, 2013. I couldn't really name you many other horror films that I really, really liked from that, you know, that year. It's just one of those things. I just think that we need that next, I guess after Scream, it was The Blair Witch. Then it was Saw. Then it was Paranormal Activity. So we've gone, I guess, 6, even 7 years now, calendar years. 7 years since Paranormal Activity came out. I just think we need that next big thing. It's not remakes. It's not sequels. We need something original. We need something that we can all see in a theater and scream about and sell that theater out. And just something to talk about, whether we like it, whether we hate it. It just needs something to move us along, and this movie absolutely did that, and I think it did that in the best possible way you can do it. And that's why I love Scream so much. That's why it's number 12 on my all-time list. And I hope you all enjoyed. This was a little review / rant / all-time horror films number 12 review. I hope you all enjoyed. You know, that's going to be it for now. I could do my number 11, actually, because I actually have nothing really going on today. I'm actually off from work, so go me. Yeah, maybe I'll do another video after this. So, I am John Grande, John Pants Play, the best in the world. You've been chilling, guys. Peace.